So I think that, if you looked at the total amount spent not only on infrastructure, but on all needs, that it's more even than you would think.
Next, Director Adcock, can you give us a closing?
Do we not have a follow-up from Sheila?
I just did.
You just, well, I apologize.
Can we have a closing statement from you, Director Adcock?
Yes, I want to thank you all for having this. I think this is one of the best tools that we have for elections in the city of Little Rock, because lots of people watch this, and I'm glad they don't show it every day at 6 o'clock, but they change the times in it. I have always been accountable. I've always been supportive of honesty in our government and full disclosure. I've always been able to work with the press to make sure that any information I had that they needed, that they had. I'm accessible. People laugh. I answer my own phone. My office is in my home, and I have a cell phone. And in fact, on my little handouts that I'm passing out this election, it has my home number on it, and it has my cell number on it. And I tell people when I hand it to them, you have accessible. I am accessible to you. You have accessibility to me. Here's my numbers. Call me. I'm active. Some people think that I'm probably too active, and do I ever rest? But for some reason, the good Lord has given me the ability to have lots of energy that I have to get out, and I love projects. So it is a good fit. I take action. If you turn in a board request, you'll get an answer in 6 to 8 weeks. If you call me, you'll get an answer probably in 24 hours, what I'm doing to work on your problem. Because I don't think a citizen that is having trouble getting their trash picked up is wanting to wait 6 weeks to find out when we're going to pick it up. So I believe in fast answering the citizen on what the needs and what the problem is. I would like to ask for your vote for 4 more years as your city director. And city director at large, some people watching this will not know that you have 7 wards in Little Rock, and you have 3 people elected at large. So you elect 4 city directors. So if you're not able to get a hold of your city directors, call one of the at-large directors. Or if you have a problem, you should have 4 people ready to address your problem. Again, I would like to return to be another 4 years to be your city director in position 10. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Adcock. Ward 4 City Director candidates are Capi Peck and Jeff Yates. Roy Brooks have withdrawn from this race, according to the city clerk. And now, can we have an opening statement from Capi Peck?
Yes, thank you so much. I'm happy to be here today. My name is Capi Peck. I am delighted to be running for City Director for Ward 4, a ward that I have lived in for the last 37 years. Grew up in Ward 3. I'm a lifelong Little Rock resident. I have a thriving business that has grown along with the City of Little Rock, Trio's Restaurant. Been there for 30 years. It's a tough business. 4 out of 5 restaurants closed in the first 2 years, and I'm proud to say that my business is thriving, and it's thanks to the good people of Little Rock. I'm a product of public schools here, graduated from Hall High School in 1971, and I'm still very active in the Student Alum Association, the Tribe. I'm a big community volunteer and advocate. I started listing the numbers of local charities that I'm involved with, either as a volunteer or preparing food, other charitable organizations, and I stopped at 45. This includes most schools, churches, places like our house. I'm a big supporter of CARTI, the Arkansas Hunger Relief Alliance. I'm a volunteer chef for the Arkansas Hunger Relief Alliance, and we teach cooking matters to low-income families. I taught the first class in Spanish. I'm bilingual, and that's come in very handy. I also am the immediate past president of the Arkansas Restaurant Association. And the thing I'm probably most proud of after trios is that I have served on the Little Rock Advertising and Promotion Commission for the last decade. I served as vice chair for 8 years, and I currently am chair. And in that position, I spearheaded the Restore Robinson campaign, and we will be cutting the ribbon on November the 10th. This is a project that's had a huge economic impact, and it's, I'm happy to report, it's on time and on budget. A wonderful amenity and a great job generator and a huge economic impact for the city of Little Rock. I'm also very involved in the wayfaring project downtown. I believe in a strong, revitalized downtown and the strengthening of all of our neighborhoods, because we're only as a strong city if all of our neighborhoods are safe and strong. I'm passionate about what I do. I'm a go-getter. I think if you ask people to describe me, they'll use 4 words: hard worker, passionate, energetic, and a good listener. The skill that I think that I have that's most important is my ability to empathize with people, all people, to listen with genuine concern and compassion, to look for solutions to problems, and to get the job done so Little Rock is a better place for all of us. And thank you again.
Jeff Yates.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here. I'm Jeff Yates. Little Rock's history has been grand, and generations of work have made Little Rock the hub of Central Arkansas, as well as the state capital. His history marches on. Continued investment is vital for the Little Rock's future, and public schools, public safety, and public works are some of the keystones of the future well-being of our great city. I'm running for city director for Ward 4 because I love Little Rock, and I believe that while working together, we can build on past successes and overcome present challenges. I believe we must make smart investments to improve our wonderful city. My family and I love living here. I want to help Little Rock be a place where people want to live. I want Little Rock to consistently be at the top of all of those great places to live lists. I've lived in Little Rock over 20 years. I've lived in other towns, large and small, but I have chosen to live in Little Rock. My wife and I have chosen to stay in Little Rock and to raise our daughter in Little Rock. My wife, Dana, is a full-time residential real estate agent at the property group, in addition to being a full-time mom. She's active in the Roberts Elementary PTA and other community organizations, and our daughter, Evelyn, is in the 2nd grade at Don R. Roberts Elementary. It's a public school, and she's active in everything from the Lego Club to soccer to choir. We live over at 66 Eldorado Drive. That's about halfway between Rodney Parham Road and Henson Road. And we go to church at St. James, and Evelyn sings in the choir there. We like going to the neighborhood pools in the summertime. We like going sledding in the wintertime. And my years of volunteer service have included 2 terms on the Little Rock Planning Commission, including as chair, 2 terms on the Little Rock Board of Adjustment, including as chair. They turned me out after 2 terms of 3 years each, so 6 years there. And so I've also served on the Pleasant Valley Property Owners Association as treasurer, the Woodland Hills Aspen Highlands Property Owners Association as past president. I participated in the Birchwood Walnut Valley Neighborhood Plan. I saw several folks that are in this room back at the time whenever I was listening to the work of the formation of the Land Bank Committee for the City of Little Rock. I have the experience. I have the experience to be an effective city director. For Little Rock to thrive, we must have great proactive city government that works to improve needed infrastructure. We must address the crime issues that we have in the city. I helped lead the collection of $40,000 towards the 1 cent campaign for the Little Rock sales tax so that we can have the things that the Little Rock Police Department needs. And I'm a big advocate of public schools.
On to our questioning portion. First question is going to come from. Okay, sorry. Can we have Ron introduce himself?
I'm Ron Muse. I am the president of the Forest Hills Neighborhood Association.
Annie Abrams.
I'm Annie Abrams, immediate past president of the Coalition of Neighborhood Associations and a founding member of the Wright Avenue Neighborhood Association.
First question is going to come from Ron Muse.
The proposed I-30 project would lead to widening of I-630, state officials say. And the neighborhoods, especially to the south, could suffer yet another assault on the fragile stability there. What would you do to protect these neighborhoods from any ill effects of highway widening?
Mr. Yates.
Well, do everything we can to protect those neighborhoods. It's unfortunate that we find ourselves in the position of needing to widen I-630. If we could do the things necessary to attract folks that are choosing to commute from those outlying communities and get them to live in Little Rock, we wouldn't have all of this need for the widening of the highways all the way to Benton and Bryant and Cabot and Conway, and we wouldn't have this compounding issue of the widening of I-630. I would work with the highway department and the planning, the public works folks to address these issues and look at all available avenues to either maintain the least possible widening or to provide for the appropriate barriers between the highway and the neighborhoods so as that they could be protected from the sound and the traffic.
Ms. Peck.
Well, I think the I-30 crossing is one of the most challenging and divisive issues before us now. I have attended several of the presentations, and I would like to say first that the current plan is better than the first one, yet I think there's some serious problems. Safety has to be the number one concern. The bridge has to be replaced. The 630 issue to me is very disturbing. I think that we need to have an environmental impact study. I think we need to look at modeling, and I believe that's coming down the road in November and December. I hope that there's more time for public comment. I intend to make public comment. Again, it's better than the first iteration, but I think as a community we need to find a different solution, with safety being our number one concern and neighborhood impact right behind it.
Thank you.
Next question, Annie Abrams.
Arkansas is the only state without a law setting a warrant of habitability standard for rental units. Do you support state legislation to require a warrant of habitability from landlords, setting minimum health and safety standards for rentals?
Ms. Peck.
I absolutely support that, and I think it's appalling that we're the only state that doesn't have this legislation. I don't know how this has fallen through the cracks, but I think as a city, we have a responsibility and a duty to address this issue, and I'm fully supportive of that. I will work towards helping get that legislation passed.
Jeff?
I do support that, and I do support our city's public works and code enforcement officials who have not been given the tools necessary to address all of the violations of city ordinance and codes that are in effect today. We have the opportunity here to address this at more than one level. We have city code that provide for these things, and we are not giving the code enforcement officers a sufficient amount of tools to address the code violations that we have. So I would support it from the top down and from the bottom up, and be available to listen to all of those who have concerns.
Next question, Ron Muse.
Recently, city officials defeated a proposal to require new police officers to live in Little Rock. One reason cited was the lack of moderate income housing in the city that new officers could afford at their starting pay. What will you do to overcome this lack of housing?
Mr. Yates.
Well, one of the things that the city can do is address the patchwork quilt of city ordinances that we have that address the planning and development process here in Little Rock, and we can do a better job of proactively bringing together the resources necessary to provide public infrastructure. One of the things that we see at this point is that it's easier and cheaper to build these homes in other communities. You can talk to the Home Builders Association and all of their members. You can look around and see that folks, Arkansas companies that build homes, like Roush Coleman, are choosing to build homes elsewhere because of the cost of construction here due to that lack of participation. And so if we can change the way we do things by making it more proactive on the city's part to allow for planning, we can better attract those folks who can build affordable housing for the folks you're talking about.
Ms. Peck.
Well, I know that recently the city board has met and talked about the incentive program to help in a situation just like this. I believe it's $5,000 to if someone buys a home and $2,500 to lease a home. And I think this is a step in the right direction. I agree with most of everything that Mr. Yates has said. I've also talked to several policemen who don't live in Little Rock, and their stories are not so much housing is cheaper, but that, well, I grew up here, my grandparents are here, I've got a farm in Bologna, or I mean, I understand that. It's another very hot topic situation. I would like for all of our firefighters and police to live here, but I don't think it's reasonable. I do support the incentive program, and I think that's a move in the right direction.
Thank you.
Next question, Annie Abrams.
The proposed I-30 project would lead to widening I-630. State officials say, and the neighborhood.
Just ask that one.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. How will you support the 12th Street Corridor Jumpstart Program, redevelopment, and quality of life issues in the surrounding neighborhoods?
Is that my question?
Ms. Peck.
It's your time.
Okay, I'm sorry. I am not familiar with that project. I will say that I'm not a lifelong politician. I'm new to this, but I'm actively interested and want to listen and learn. And I'm a fast study, and I apologize, I'm not familiar with that project.
That's okay.
Mr. Yates.
Well, I'm not familiar with the details either, but I am familiar with the fact that there's been a lot of effort into the 12th Street corridor over the last decade, and that Director Richardson has been a spearhead behind that, and others have participated in the 12th Street police substation was part of the big project there. We've got back to that committee or that group that hired the architectural firm to do all of the design plans as part of what came about creating the road diet down there. And it's imperative that we provide a safe and secure environment for the reinvestment in that part of our community.
Next question, Ron Muse.
Is this a question or a follow-up? Across the nation, racial tensions have flared between police and the black community. One idea has been to resume the Citizen Police Advisory Council, first set up in 1995. Then it was shut down a few years later. Today, there are 8 community policing officers at work in the city. What would you do to improve relations in our city between police and the community?
Mr. Yates.
Well, I think it's imperative that we provide the Little Rock Police Department the ability to hire more community-oriented police officers and provide those services. The Department of Justice has an entire layout of things, of tools and options for community-oriented policing services. And I know that I've spoken with Chief Buckner, and he's in favor of these sort of things. So the bottom line is we just need to have more police officers providing more services within the community, and so that these relationships are built between the police officers and the residents, and all the way down to the children in the schools, so that we can have them growing up seeing the police officers as a resource to them, as someplace that they can turn in need and for safety, and as someone to look up to.
Ms. Peck.
I'm very concerned about public safety. am encouraged about the recent city board action to overhaul the hiring practices and policies and to expedite that program. I know that in surrounding cities, the process does not take that long, and I'm certainly not suggesting that we dilute the program or the vetting process, but we do have vacancies. We do need more patrol men and women out on the streets. I'm very big on Coffee with a Cop, other community relations building projects that I think foster excellent relations. I think Little Rock has been lucky, and I think in the grand scheme of things, in comparison to some other communities very nearby, that relations are good, but they can be stronger. I think that this is something that has to be a focal point as a city board, because I believe that this is the number one concern our citizens have.
The next follow-up question, Amy Abrams.
As a follow-up to you, Mr. Yates, how important is it to you to establish regular meetings between the city board and the Little Rock School Board and/or State Education Board of Directors?
It's imperative. The city of Little Rock has to be an advocate for the public schools. I've heard for years, the city can't do anything about this. Well, the city can. The city absolutely can be advocates. The city can make investments in the neighborhoods around the schools and make sure that they're safe, clean environments for these children to go to school and get a quality education. It is absolutely imperative that we address the public school system in Little Rock so that folks are comfortable and confident in bringing their children to school in the Little Rock School District and in the Pulaski County Special School District that serves the city of Little Rock.
Ms. Peck.
Well, as a product of the public schools here, I have a great deal of pride, and as I said, I'm very active in the Alum Association at Hall, and I am distressed that we have lost control of the school board. Can't do anything about what happened in the past, but we can fight to regain that control again. I've met with Michael Poore. I think he wants to be successful, and I think we need to work to help him be successful, because if he's successful, our kids will be successful. I think a strong public school system is the duty of every city director to speak out and support. Not just for our citizens, but for new businesses looking to move here. It's the backbone of our society. If we don't have strong public school system, we will not succeed.
Next, we're going to have our closing statements. If you can tell us in 2 minutes, Mr. Yates, why we should vote for you.
Well, I have the experience that is needed for the position of city director. I can be counted on to listen, and I can be counted on to work hard. It's part of what I do every day. I listen to my clients every day, and that's why I've been successful in my business for over 23 years, is listening to the needs of others. And if elected, I will improve communication with the residents of Ward 4 and all of the city. I'll commit to having regular ward meetings. I'll commit to having a quarterly Ward 4 newsletter produced based on my involvement at the city board and reporting to all of the folks in Ward 4 what's going on that affects them and the others in the city. I'm an experienced leader that can be counted on to fight for Little Rock's future. I'll work to increase community policing. I'll be an advocate for the public schools. I'll work to improve the city's infrastructure, encourage job creation. I'm the right candidate for Ward 4 and all of Little Rock to be on the city's board of directors.
Ms. Peck.
Thank you. Not being a career politician, someone reminded me that I actually am, because I have the constituents of my restaurant that I have to deal with for 30 years, and my staff. I'm very proud of the longevity of my staff. I've got over 10 people that have worked for me for, 24 plus years. And it's because I communicate, I have great people skills, and I listen with compassion and empathy. I don't go into a meeting and say, hey, let's do it this way. I listen with concern, and I love Little Rock with all of my heart. I'm a successful business person. I'm a community volunteer. I'm forward-thinking. I've got the energy to do the job. I don't ever do anything, and with 10%, I give it 150%. I'm the fourth generation Peck that's been in business in Little Rock. We've got a footprint here, and I want to grow Little Rock in a good, mindful way so that everybody benefits. I want to enhance the quality of life, not just for people in Ward 4, but in all the neighborhoods. And I will do a wonderful job. I'm the best candidate for Ward 4 City Director.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This concludes the forum. Thank you all so very much for your participation.